Hello, folks. Welcome back. Episode 3, the Paper Jam Podcast, an internet broadcast. Now, obviously, what's happening right now is everyone's shitting their pants about the possibility of the United States going to war with Iran. So, let's figure that shit out, gang. Figure it out. Yeah, right. Let me just give you. I'm going to explain to you the context, the historical context that I feel is necessary in order for you to decide how you feel about shit. I don't know. Just to let me put you up on game. So we're gonna start at World War One. Okay? First World War. At this time, the Ottoman Empire is in charge of a big area in the Middle East. The Ottoman Empire ruled North Africa and the Middle East for hundreds and hundreds of years. Here's the shit you need to know regarding World War One. World War One was 19. Ooh, that looks like shit. How do I do this? That'll do. Alright, sorry about the back of my head right now. We're gonna discuss motherfucker. Sorry. Hussein McMahon correspondence, the Sykes-Picot agreement, and the Balfour Declaration. This was in 1917. 16, if I'm not mistaken. And then this early. Alright. So, sorry for my handwriting. Alright, World War One. The desire is to topple the Ottoman Empire, okay? The Ottoman Empire is in charge of that area. So, there are correspondence written back and forth between somebody in Europe and somebody in the Arab world. I ain't gonna sit here and fake the funk. I don't know where the fuck McMahon was from, and I don't know where Hussein was from, like what country or anything, but I do know that they were two leaders, one European, McMahon, the other Arab, Hussein. And McMahon essentially, it was written letters back and forth. And it was promised to the Arab people in the McMahon-Hussein correspondence that if the Arab people that were under the rule of the Ottomans, if they would help topple the Ottoman Empire, then they would have a united Arab country and Europe would help them set it up. This was promised by McMahon to Hussein. Again, I cannot recall where each was from, but that's what that was. Therefore, there was help from the people living in the Middle East to conquer and topple the Ottoman Empire. So at the end of World War One, that was the result. Was World War One ended, and it also ended the Ottoman Empire. Now, there was a secret deal being made between France and England. It was called the Sykes-Picot Agreement. I'm going to assume hard on this one that Picot was the French, okay? I'm doing a little bit of, Can you be racist to a French? Mama, I'm just assuming that Sykes was not the French. It was Picot who was, okay? Now, what France and England try to do, Jesus Christ, I wish I could clip this bitch onto me, except I just know that it's going to be making a whole bunch of noises, you know what I mean? And I just don't want you guys to have to deal with that shit. And that's fine. Anyway, Sykes-Picot basically was like, yeah, fuck the Hussein McMahon correspondence. I don't care. The Sykes-Picot agreement said, cool, so when we topple the Ottomans, with the help of the Arabs who think that they're going to get their own united country. Which part do you want, France? Which part do you want, England? So, and it ended up being 4 countries. Sykes-Picot dealt with, I remember it by the acronym SLIP, because it was Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, and Palestine. All 4, after World War I, became under the control of either France or England, which is why, between the First and Second World War, it's referred to as the British Mandate for Palestine. Because England was, you know, in control of the bitch. Now, before World War I even happened, in the late ass 18s, Theodor Herzl, the father of Zionism, proposed Zionism in his work Don Judenstaat, the Jewish state. That work had nothing to do with religion. He doesn't say that this should be a thing. He doesn't say the establishment of Israel is guaranteed to us by God. He says, hey, Jewish people get treated like shit all the time in Europe. True. So we should have a homeland where we can always go. I discussed this in the second episode, where I was saying, you know, in my opinion, it's the option that is the most easily accepted by people who are genuinely anti-Semitic, genuinely anti-Jewish, because they kept calling it the Jewish question. Well, what do we do? What do we do with them? What do we do with them? I don't know. Probably not. Stop being such a fucking idiot. Stop being such a, stop being hateful towards somebody because of their faith. What do you mean, the question? How can I exist with these people? What? Listen to yourself. So the whole idea of I put them all in one place where we don't have to deal anymore. Zionism is a favorable ideology to people who are anti-Semitic. Zionism, before and during World War I, like even when Herzl proposed this idea, it was very fringe. It was not, Zionism was not like a big thing. There were definitely people who were followers of the Zionist movement, but it was not like a big, overwhelming, thing. Folks saw themselves as like Jewish people in Europe. When I was reading Verba, he said, I woke up one day and I was no longer a Slovak, I was a Jew. Like, he was like, I didn't feel like, I'm just a Slovak. You understand. All right. So, now, promised a united Arab land if they help topple the Ottomans. They help topple the Ottomans. Sykes-Picot. That was a good one, Self. Sykes-Picot agreement, where England and France do backdoor deals, and they're like, ha ha ha, just kidding. Terrible French. Just kidding. Terrible French. Fuck it. And divvy up Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, Palestine. France, you're in control of some. England, you're in control of some. Then the Balfour Declaration. The Balfour Declaration is a agreement made between the Zionist project, the Zionist party, and England. Again, if you haven't watched the second episode, I highly recommend watching it because I explain some of this shit in further detail. The Balfour Declaration and the fact that the establishment of a Jewish state done by England on Palestine, and that was not discussed with Palestine, that was what Einstein was like, what the fuck are we doing? You remember? From last week's lesson? 2 weeks ago lesson? Okay. The Balfour Declaration was an agreement between the Zionist Party and England saying England will help you establish a Jewish homeland on Palestine because England felt as though it was theirs. England felt as though Palestine was theirs to do whatever the fuck they wanted to do with it because it was theirs, so they don't need to consult the Palestinians as it regards the giving away of their land. Nuts. You can't do that. That's crazy. Which is why Einstein said, bitch, when this all goes to hell in a handbasket, the first people you will have to blame is the British. The second people you will have to blame are the terrorists that are developed from within our own ranks. Out of breath from spitting so much game, bro. I swear to God. Okay. World War One. Boom. The end of World War One. These areas in the Middle East are under British and French control. Then in the 40s, World War II begins. I'm going to pause this, erase this. I'll be right back. I'm back. Are you there? Okay, thank God. So then, World War II is from 1939 to 1945. Israel is declared a thing in 1948. Also in 1948 is the first Arab Israeli war. Then World War II. Now, between World War I and II, there was some movement of Europeans who were already in favor of Zionism who moved to the British Mandate for Palestine. Okay? For example, episode 2, the woman that I talked about, Hannah, the paratrooper, her was in Palestine. Like during World War II. So we've discussed again. You need to watch the second episode for the full context of World War II, of Zionism and the Holocaust, of the Holocaust narrative that is created by Zionism. To me, a very crucial aspect of this is realizing that many people can go through the same trauma. The way that those people handle it can be very different. For example, in all, there were 5 men who escaped Auschwitz. The very first man who escaped Auschwitz escaped 2 days before Verba and Wetzler did. His name was Siegfried or Sigmund. Siegfried Lederer. Lederer. If I'm not mistaken, he drank himself to death. If you spend any time in a fucking death camp where you're reduced to a number, it makes sense to me that you would become a severe alcoholic and just fucking drink yourself to death. That tracks for me. Verba became like a biochemist. That also makes sense to me that you would bury your head in your work. And Verba, his birth name was like Walter. He never, ever, ever, even when he was referring to himself as a youth, as a little boy, he would say Rudy, Rudolph Verba. He would say Rudy about himself. Baby, nobody called you Rudy when you were a kid. Walter's fucking dead. He died do you understand what I'm saying? There are people who can go through all kind of the same things. There is no one reaction to trauma. Now, the people accepting or becoming Zionist and shit makes sense, given that nobody really did watch the second episode. If you just watch your whole fucking family die because they also were Jewish, I can understand how you would then be like, well, fuck, we do just need one place where we can go that we're safe. Zionism very much pimps out the trauma of the Holocaust. Yeah. So, after World War II, the reins of global power, in my humble, were taken, from England's hands to the hands of the United States. World War II, England, was the global dominant force for a long ass time. And then I would say post World War II, it was the United States. World War II was fought in Europe on European soil. War is expensive as hell. It costs a lot of money when a country is at war. It costs a lot of lives when a country is at war. So, the United States, yeah, Pearl Harbor, but Hawaii wasn't even a fucking state at that point, bestie. How crazy is that? The war was fought in Europe. So they had all kind of damage beyond just like, yeah, it costs a lot of money. Also, we need more money to build up this bitch back. You understand? United States becomes the most powerful. Automatically, as soon as the Second World War ends, there is this Cold War. The Cold War is cold because the bitch ain't hot, baby. Because there was no action, Jackson. The Cold War is essentially capitalism versus communism. It's the United States versus Russia and China. The way China is a dominant force in present day is through very economic deals and things. They don't, you know, I'm not sitting here saying China is perfect and does everything right. They're very, I scratch your back, you scratch my back with the way that they do relations with other countries. You'll notice, when the fuck was the last time China was in a war? The Han Dynasty or something? They're not going to war on behalf of their allies, bitch. Please, relax. The way that the United States does global dominance is through a very mob boss type mentality. It's not, I'll do this for you, you do this for me. It's like, hey, do this for me or I'll kill your whole fucking family in front of you. That's how the United States operates. It's not a good thing. It's and our number one export is war. Following the Second World War, a ton of countries gained their independence because a ton of countries were colonies of Italy, of uh, England, of France, etc., etc. A great time to fight for your independence is when whoever your occupier was is weak. So if you are occupied by the British and the British just had to fight a war, a great time to do a rebellion is as soon as the war ends because they don't have the money to suppress your uprising. Okay? So a ton of places became independent after World War II. Like in Africa, in the Middle East, etc. And then in order to make sure that those places like did their government right, we did wars about it. For example, Vietnam. For example, Korea, etc., etc. So, what Israel is, first of all, Israel was declared a thing in 1948. And essentially, what they said was, Palestine, you don't exist anymore. Sorry, you don't exist anymore. Also, you need to leave. This is theirs now. Obviously, that didn't go over. Because what? You can't do that. That's crazy. You didn't even compensate the Palestinians. And even if you would have, there's a lot of people that would have been like, no, keep your money. I just want to stay home. So when that occurred and the initial, so Israel was declared a thing, then something called the Nakba, which was the initial expulsion of Palestinians from their homelands. It was like 800,000 Palestinians, roughly, that were just evicted. Many of people were killed. Water wells were poisoned. It was very brutal. Other Arab countries saw this. So imagine you're in a neighborhood. You see somebody go into your neighbor's house, kill the neighbor and their family, and then just live in their house. You're not going to be cool with them. That's what happened. So this first Arab-Israeli war was the other Arab countries being like, what the fuck? Now, that's a topic for another day. Similarly, all of these countries around Palestine, while Palestine was told you no longer exist, damn near everybody around them became independent. You know? Lebanon, Syria, etc. Israel is a Western outpost in the Middle East, which is a insanely resource-rich region. The region of the Levant, which is Okay, I'm about to give you a really bad drawing, all right? All right, so Egypt looks like this. And then there's something called the Sinai Peninsula, right? It looks like this. This is Egypt. Now, right here, okay, this is Palestine. You see her? This is the Sinai Peninsula. So the Rafah border, where people were able in the very beginning of this genocide, the current genocide in Gaza, Gaza Strip is like right here. I need a new color. Fuck it. Gaza Strip is like right here. So there was this crossing that people would. You understand? I hope so. What the fuck was I talking about Egypt for? Uh, but it goes like this. Now, post World War II, the United States is the boss dog of the world, and it wants to ensure that the other countries in the region are willing to play the game with Israel, with the United States. So many things were done to these other countries to ensure that they do play the game. Um, let's see. Egypt, I think, was in control by the British. I don't know for how long, but I do know that Egypt plays the game with the West. If you were to ask Egyptian people, how do they feel? They would tell you, I stand with Palestine. Their government does not reflect that. Their government, when Israel was allowing Palestinian people to escape from the slaughter that is occurring actively in Gaza, Egypt said, well, shit, we want a piece of the pie too, and they charge $5,000 a head. You want to escape? How bad? $5,000 worth. Egypt plays the game. They also just blocked aid that people were, big convoys of people from Tunisia, Algeria were trying to break this blockade that's happening on the Rafah border. Egyptian, I don't know who, military, police, whatever. The Egyptian government said, "No, bitch, you're not doing that because the United States told us that we need to play nice with Israel." Hang on, my dog's about to bark. I can feel it. Oh my god, she did it! I'm so proud. Let me chill out before I talk too soon. Egypt plays the game. The United Arab Emirates plays the game. When I say plays the game, I mean this is what I mean. They cooperate with the United States, with Israel, and they do not make major actions to help the Palestinian people. Okay? Okay. So, oh, also, by the way, when England gave away not their land, when England gave away Palestine and said, ha, here you are, now it's Israel, um, a lot of times people who currently refuse to criticize Israel, they will say, well, the Palestinians should have taken the deal that they proposed back in such and such. Imagine if somebody broke into your crib and they were like, hey, upstairs is mine now. And you're like, girl, fuck you. And then they kill one of your kids. And it's like, okay, fuck. You could stay upstairs. And they're like, yeah, your kid would still be alive if you would have said that the first time. Bitch, you broke into my house. Do you understand? All right. So, Palestine, the entire joint kind of looks like this. Bad drawing, but it's close enough. So, this was Palestine, the entire bitch. Now, basically, the entire bitch is Israel. There's this tiny area here. This is the Gaza Strip. And then there is an area here. This is the West Bank. All of the rest of this is now, and, it's Israel. So, this is all that's left. This, as we know, is currently in the middle of a genocide. This is the West Bank, and there are settlers in the West Bank, which is going to be people who are typically from the States who move there, and they call this area Judea and Samaria, referencing the Old Testament. And the IDF has to be stationed in the West Bank to protect those settlers, not to protect the Palestinians, because this is the only little tiny bitch ass amount that you're. The Palestinians have been being fucked since 48. The people that have been on the side of the Palestinians, well, at first, as we saw, the whole Arab Israeli war in 48, that was a bunch of. The Saudi was even in that motherfucker. Saudi was even fighting on behalf of the Palestinians that time. But the English had the black and tans and everything. They had everybody in fighting on behalf of Israel. And like over time, the United States was able to either cause a coup or force compliance in all these surrounding governments. Like, for example, Egypt, I don't know, to be honest. I don't know when Egypt became compliant with the United States or whatever, or like which government made them do this, but Egypt plays the game with the United States, with Israel. United Arab Emirates plays the game with Israel and the United States. Saudi Arabia plays the game. Jordan plays the game. The countries that have stood with Palestine at all have been Iran, Yemen, Lebanon. Iran, however, it wasn't always like that. The people that were in charge of Iran. Hang on. Sorry. Iran was under the control of the Shah. Then Iranian people elected somebody whose name is Mossadegh. Mossadegh, I believe. Then the United States did what Mossadegh wanted to do was nationalize the oil. So, BP, British Petroleum, guess where that British Petroleum was found? Iran. Classic British shit. But then it's cool. Not cool. It's not cool at all, bitch. England handed the reins to the United States, and we were like, I want to be just like you, Dad. Dad being England. Anyway, this has always been about resources. The Shah, Mossadegh said, okay, well, we, the Iranian people, the Persian people, this is our shit. This is our resource. This is the resource from our country. So we should be the ones benefiting from our resource. So he moved to nationalize the petroleum industry thing. And then the CIA did a plot to overthrow him. The Shah was back in control. Then, Mossadegh was democratically elected by the Iranian people. Then the Iranian people were so fucking sick of that shit, of Western, screwing around in their country with their resources, X, Y, and Z, that they said, you know what, fuck all this Western shit. And there was like another big coup, overthrow, changing to a theocracy, to a very conservative, theocratic, meaning ruled by religion, government. I am not a fan of the Iranian government. I never agree with the theocracy. I don't like when religion has anything to do with politics. Any religion, any politic. I don't care. I don't like it. So I don't like that. However, with that being said, Iran does not play the game with if I get one more text that's like, hey there, we got your resume. Who the fuck got my resume, bitch? Because I couldn't even tell you the last time I made a resume. Delete and report junk. Delete and report junk. Leave me alone. I'm talking about Iran. Mm. So, bruh, we were so anti. Oh, and Jimmy Carter was the president during the. ¿Cómo se llama? When it became a theocracy, when Iran became the Islamic Republic of Iran, Jimmy Carter was in office, and he was like, "Shit." But if there's one thing about Jimmy, bro, he ain't trying to put no boots on the ground in the Middle East. So it remained that way. Then we're not even gonna get into the Iran hostage situation. Whatever. Iraq, girl, the United States and Saddam were like this, especially when Saddam went and to go at war with Iran. We funded him, girl. Anyway, Iraq is we fucked that country so bad. Oh, I got a comment on my last video that says I used too many profanities. Sorry, Diva. And make no mistake, I feel you, sister, because sometimes I watch these videos back and I'm like, you sound like an idiot, the amount of curse words that you use. But at the end of the day, the message is still very clear. And I'm so sorry for being passionate about the things that I'm talking about. Now, Iraq, when we invaded in 2004, we killed 1 million people and destabilized it insanely. There are still United States claws in the nation of Iraq. So I can't even say Iraq has been playing the game with the United States and Israel. Iraq has done this and this. Iraq is still trying to build itself back from the rubble. Lebanon, specifically the southern part of Lebanon, there were lots of Hezbollah. Okay? Hezbollah is a militia group funded by Iran who would fight on behalf of the Palestinians. Now, Hezbollah and Iran were homegirls with Bashar al-Assad, which was Syria. This is a lot of information right now, sorry. Syria was controlled by the Assad regime for like a long ass time. And he was pretty fucking brutal. Very brutal to his own people, to the Syrian people. Did help Palestinians though. This Bashar's, regime, his control of the government was overthrown this past December 2024. So that was Iran's like probably biggest ally in the region. Hezbollah in South Lebanon has been insanely bombarded by Israel. So Lebanon is like also kind of it did its best to help the Palestinian people. It's currently in rubble. Yemen with the Houthis and their just where they are on the Red Sea, they were able to get a ship or two every now and then. Yemen is one of the poorest countries in the world. Is one of the top, I'd say 15 poorest countries on earth. Also, Yemen has been bombed by like the last 4 presidents. So they did what they could also to try and help Palestinian people through armed resistance against Israel. The big dog of this, though, is Iran, of funding anybody doing anything against Israel, because all other governments in the region play the game with Israel and play the game with the United States. Iran, no, does not. Now, Barack Obama, skipping, listen, if you are the president of the United States at any point in history, you're basically guaranteeing that you're going to do some crimes against humanity. So I'm not sitting here to say Barack Obama was absolutely flawless, perfect angel baby. But one thing that he did that was a very real success was the agreement that Obama solidified between the United States and Iran. And what the agreement said was, Iran, the United States will lift all of the sanctions that we have on you. So we'll trade with you again. We can be friends. But you girls can't build a nuke. You guys cannot have a nuclear weapon. And Iran said, okay, but you said you'd trade with us again. Obizi says, yep. No nukes. We could trade all day. And then they say, Habibi Wallah. Just kidding, they speak Farsi. So maybe they didn't say Habibi. But cool. And that was it. Brilliant. Good. That is a good deal. I scratch, you scratch. Smart. Then comes Donald Trump's first presidency. As we know about Donald Trump, nothing that any Obama who was before him the first time, Joe Biden who was before him this second time, nothing that they could ever do could ever make any sense ever. He is unwilling to say that anything that they ever did was ever successful, ever, or smart. So in Donald Trump's first term, he got rid of that shit. The Obama era agreement between the United States and Iran. He ripped that bitch up and put sanctions back on Iran. He said, fuck you, we're not keeping our side of the deal anymore, Iran. So Iran said, okay, if you don't give a damn, I don't give a fuck. Let's start enriching some uranium. Fuck out of here. I'm sorry. But if I zoom out and just try and look at things logically, that makes perfect fucking sense, Iran. Hello? Why would you keep up your end of the deal if the other party isn't doing theirs? Duh. And then we get Joe Biden, who just Alzheimer'd around for about 4 years, pobrecito. Not poor thing. What the fuck were you doing, Joseph? And foreign policy tends to be pretty the same on, like, Democrats and Republicans agree on the way that the United States should fuck around in other countries more often than not. So Joe Biden don't do shit regarding Iran, but then we know October 7 in 2023 pops off. In total, let's call the number 2,500, 2,500. Part of that 2,500 was Israelis killed. The other part of that 2,500 was Israelis taken hostage by Hamas. What we now know is that Israel utilized the Hannibal Directive during the night of October 7. The Hannibal Directive says, kill an Israeli, that an Israeli should kill another Israeli before they are taken hostage by Hamas. So we don't know how many of those 2,500 were killed by Hamas and how many were killed by their own hand. Since that time, this has been the most publicized and seen and wide open and available to the public to watch 24/7 genocide that we have ever seen. Since October 7, I would say it is so fair to say that at the very least 100,000 Palestinians have been killed. They are all in the Gaza Strip. Imagine we zoom in right here. Now, mind you, all of this, and the reason I try not to use the word Gazan is because you saw they have this tiny area, this tiny area. Those people probably are not originally from Gaza. They were all shoved into that area because your country isn't yours anymore. So, there are 2 million people, at least, living in an area that is roughly the size of Las Vegas, the Gaza Strip. Israel will say, oh, you all need to move all out the south, make 2 million people go up north, rain terror. Just kidding, you need to all go this way. It is the sickest shit that we have all just watched. We've never had this much access to atrocities as we have the genocide that is actively occurring in Gaza. The public opinion towards Israel around the entire globe has very much changed because of this, and because y'all being the governments of the world, you can't really control the narrative anymore. Because even in 2004, when we invaded Iraq, in 2004 when we invaded Iraq, my grandmother still had to have a phone service that would allow her to make international calls. Now, as long as you and I are both on Wi-Fi, I could call any fucking end of the hemisphere that I feel. I could call anywhere on the globe. No problem, no extra charges. Technology has changed an insane amount in the past 20 years. Israel is losing the civilian public support at all. Nobody wants to. So, Iran, seeing the way that this has been going, has been enriching their fucking uranium. Iran has seen Israel bomb the hell out of Lebanon, bomb the hell out of Yemen, and commit an act of genocide that everyone is watching and no one is doing anything. No country is doing anything. Israel feels threatened by the fact that Iran is enriching uranium. So Israel bombed Iran. Iran bombed Israel. And now Israel is calling on the United States to get involved. Israel bombed Iran first. If you are bullying everyone in the region and there's one other person with power who ain't on your side, one other like kind of strong country not on your side, politically it makes perfect sense that they're building a bomb. No fucking shit. You're obviously a threat. You're killing everybody and no one's doing anything. So again, I am not sitting here saying I love the Islamic Republic of Iran. No, I don't like that government at all. However, this is the exact same thing that we did when we invaded Iraq. Oh my God, we're scary about weapons of mass destruction. We have to invade them because weaponry. And then let me tell you something right now. Iran doesn't have a nuke. They do not have a nuclear weapon. If they did, Israel would not have bombed them. Nukes, that's all nukes are, is street cred. Is adding an extra inch to your wiener so you can swing it around, in foreign affairs, in foreign relations, to be a big bad guy. You know what I mean? Listen, you remember the other day, India and Pakistan exchanged a few blows and that was it? You want to know why? Because they both have a nuke. So at a certain point, you just got to let bygones be bygones unless you want to take out the whole fucking population of a country, which no one is going to do because that's fucking psychotic. It's posturing. That's all nuclear weapons are. If Iran had a nuke, Israel wouldn't have bombed them. They don't have one. And also, because Israel cooperates with I don't know what the hell it's called, but like the international nuclear or whatever the fucks, who goes into each country and is like, hey there, let me check on your things. Let me check on your things. Amazing. You want to know the country that doesn't let them come in and check on the things and check on the things? Israel. Iran cooperates, no problem. Come and look, Habibi, come. Have a chai. You know what I mean? They let them look at everything. Yeah, no problem. Make sure they're not doing any nefarious shit. Israel doesn't. That's breaking international law, by the way, but Israel can do whatever the fuck it wants because it's the 51st state of the United States. You cannot. Oh, and then the second thing we do once we realize, once the narrative finally flops that, yeah, these people don't have no fucking weapon of mass destruction. They don't have a nuke. Relax. Why are you continuing to kill the civilians? Hang on, my dog's about to bark. Then, once that doesn't work anymore, the West, the United States, will say, look how they treat their women. You know you can't be gay over there? Now, let me tell you why that is bullshit for them to be like, it's called pink washing, when they're like, but look at how they treat women and girls and you know, and you're not allowed to be gay and stuff like that. First of all, it's all a ruse. You all don't give the fuck about women and girls and helping oppressed people and da-da-da-da. This is not, you're not bombing them in the name of liberation. You want to know how I know that? Because Israel is your ally and they've committed a genocide over the past year and a half, and the United States doesn't give a fuck. The UAE is currently funding a genocide in Sudan, but the UAE is our ally, so we don't give a fuck. This is not about that. This is about you not playing the game with us. That's it. Benjamin Netanyahu is out of his fucking mind, as is Donald Trump. Bibi is out of his mind because all that this is doing, like, Israel will never be the same in the eyes of the global, the way that the world perceives them. Because enough. Why did you bomb Iran? Because you're scared that they may be building a nuke. Why are they building a nuke? Well, because we bombed all of their neighbors. Okay, Then what the fuck are we talking about right now? Please. And the constant conflation, this fake shit that Israel constantly tries to say they do these things in the name of Judaism, that is not true. That is not true. When Israel says they're going to attack us, Iran wants to attack us. They don't say Iran wants to attack Israelis. They say Iran wants to kill all the Jews. You need to be very mindful when listening to the way it is said, because it is always said as if it is unto the religion of Judaism rather than unto the country of Israel that is operating like the United States, like the fucking mafia, like they can do anything they want with zero repercussions. But whenever there is a repercussion, it's in the name of Jewish hate. Please. That's not real. That's not true. And the very fucked up part of all of this is that because Israel constantly conflates the actions of its government with Judaism, there is a rise in real live anti-Semitism of people being like, well then, well they said they're trying to kill the Jews, well then it is the Jew. No, no. Wrong, bro. Anyway, hope that made sense. Love y'all. Appreciate you. Listen, because I talk such severity of foolishness, not foolishness. The shit that I talk about is the Paper Jam podcast is brought to you by me. Okay? So, I would appreciate if you girls could subscribe, like it, I don't know, shit. Do your part, killer. It helps me keep my journalistic integrity and allows me to say the things that are historically accurate, speak from my viewpoint without having to tailor it to a certain corporate demand. All power to all people, all the time. See you next time. Love you. Bye.